Hello and welcome to Your Choice 2024 primary election coverage on HOMTV. I'm your host, Denisha McDowell. Joining me for this candidate interview is Milton Scales, Democratic candidate for Meridian Township Trustee. Milton, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. At this time, if you may briefly introduce yourself to the viewing audience.
Hello, my name is Milton Scales, and as stated, I'm a candidate for trustee for Meridian Township. I'm a former trustee. I served 4 years without missing a meeting. I think that's important when you have a responsibility. I think you should be present and you should also be engaged. I am a 24-year resident of Meridian Township, a 24-year homeowner and taxpayer to this township. I am heavily invested in Meridian and the things that occur within our township, and I want to move Meridian forward.
Thank you. Each Meridian Township Trustee candidate will be asked a standard list of 10 questions, and we'll get started with question number 1. Explain how your education, professional background, and community interests make you an ideal candidate for Meridian Township Trustee.
Well, that's a good question. My background is a lifetime of public service. My education, I have a Bachelor of Science degree in community development, and I have a Master of Science degree in administration. But most importantly, I got my start with an associate's degree in criminal justice from Lansing Community College, where I was the 2013 Distinguished Alumni. My work career involves 33 years of law enforcement, progressive law enforcement. I started as a Detroit police officer, and I later became a conservation officer, where I served 33 years protecting our natural resources and our environment. The last 15 years of my career, I was the Director of Criminal Investigations for the Department of Environmental Quality. Every environmental crime that was referred to the Attorney General during that 15-year period crossed my desk. When Jennifer Granholm was when Jennifer Granholm was Attorney General, she applauded the fact that she prosecuted more environmental cases in this state than any other Attorney General. Well, I was the person that provided those cases for her to prosecute, and it was my diverse and inclusive staff that made that all happen.
What do you believe are the needs of the community, and how do you plan to meet those needs if you get elected?
Our community has several needs. There are some major issues in our community, but first I'd like to say our community is marvelous. We have a wonderful community. Our community is growing. We're at 45,000 members in our community, and people flock here because of several attributes. We have a wonderful school system. We have an environment that is second to none. Our parks, our recreation areas, we have a wonderful, wonderful service delivery system in our township. But one of the major needs there is that as the township grows, our infrastructure has to grow with it. We cannot continue to grow this community without building the services that support that growth. And that is what I want to focus on. Another thing that I want to focus on in this community is the elephant in the room in every conversation, and that is downtown Okemos. There is not enough discussion about downtown Okemos. I have been gathering people much smarter than myself to determine what type of things can someone from the board do to move this project forward in the vision that we envisioned. This has been going on for a long time. I was on the board during 2012 and 2016. At that time, there were wonderful, wonderful proposals on revitalizing our downtown. The one drawback to that was the utility wires and the burying of the utility wires. At that point, back in 2015, 2016, the cost was $1.2 million. With that in mind, the issue was who was going to pay for it. I did not believe that the taxpayer should pay for the burying of the cables for the benefit of the entrepreneur. Now we're fast forward 10 years, we're still faced with the same problem. We can't deliver your vision until we get the cables buried. Now the price, the numbers that I'm hearing from the board meetings are $4 million to $7 million to bury the cables. It's time now to set everybody around the table and figure out how we're going to resolve this issue. Close the door, have a discussion, and make this happen so that we can move this forward. We deserve a glorious downtown if we are going to continue to be a prime community.
Can you share a personal story or experience that highlights your commitment to public service?
Just one story? I have quite a commitment to public service. As I said, I began my career as a Detroit police officer, and then I was laid off when Detroit laid off 1,100 police officers. Imagine that, a layoff of 1,100 police officers. So I joined the DNR. They were hiring. I was selected after an exhaustive interview process. And when I joined the DNR, I had an opportunity to work in various places throughout the state. I was a kid that grew up in Detroit, not knowing that the state of Michigan was north of 8 Mile. So I had to really learn some new things, new people, new ways of living. And I took those experiences that I learned in the 30 years of natural resources, environmental protection enforcement, and I tried to bring it back to the youth here in Okemos and Hazlitt. And I've been working with kids, explaining to them the benefits of public service, not the benefits to yourself, but the benefits to your fellow man. And I think I've instilled some things in the two groups that I mentor. I've been mentoring since 2013 at Okemos and 2013 at Hazlitt High School and 2016 at Okemos High School. I've been mentoring for quite a few years, and what makes me feel good is when I run into one of the youngsters that started with me years back, and I see how they have evolved through life, and they come back to give back. They come back to the schools after they have graduated, and they talk about the benefits that they have received from public service and from working with the mentoring program. And that's what brings me to a state of fulfillment.
How would you prioritize the use of the Township General Fund? When thinking about adopting future budgets, what do you hope to see incorporated?
future budgets and incorporate it in the township, I would have to go back to what I stated earlier, and I would ensure that we utilize our funds to increase the infrastructure so that it stays consistent with the growth that the community is that's occurring within the community. That would be my main focus. I would look at the various departments. I would look at the recommendations that come from each department head. I would analyze those, and I would communicate with the public through the board meetings of what are the things that I am finding. I would ask the public what are the things that they need. I would not walk in like I know it all. I would walk in with the idea that I am going to make the priorities that are most effective and efficient and consistent with the needs of the public.
Describe a situation where you had to work with a diverse team to achieve a common goal. How did you ensure inclusivity and collaboration?
Well, every team I work with is diverse. As soon as I join the team, it seems like I make the team diverse. I had a staff of occupying 10 offices throughout the state of Michigan, including in Gwynn in the UP. Working with that team, I had to develop the skill called distance management. I managed from a distance. I was in Lansing, and they were out in the various offices in the field. I had, at that time, the most diverse staff of the DEQ. And the things that I did was, again, I used the most important skill that you have, and that's the listening skill. I made sure that people felt valued because I valued their opinions. I told my lieutenants, who were my field staff supervisors, I said, it is your job to tell me what to do, and it is my job to tell you when to do it. So as an administrator, I had to ensure that the right things were accomplished at the right times. I promoted a member of the LGBTQ community to lieutenant. I had a staff of various racial makeups. I had several female members on my staff, and together we got the job done.
What steps do you think the township should take to enhance diversity, equity, and inclusion within the workforce to effectively represent the diverse makeup of the community?
Well, I think the township needs to enhance its human resources. I would, if it were me making the decision, and I know that we operate here in the township under policy governance. And so from the board level, we issue the policies, we hire the manager, and then we direct the manager through those policies. But I would place in the budget funding to enhance the Human Resources Department to include someone specifically focused on diversity, inclusion, and equity. I think that would be an important component to ensure that things are operating smoothly and that person has recruiting responsibilities. I think the public, we have a very diverse public in our township, and we need to embrace our diversity. And I believe that anyone walking in this township hall should feel comfortable. They should feel valued. They should feel that they belong. And the way you go about doing that is you make sure that when they walk in, that there's somebody that looks like them, so that they understand that my township understands me. I think those are major components of what we need to do to enhance our diversity, to be able to recruit more diverse employees. When I was on the township board, the most diverse portion of the township was the communications section. And I knew that there was more that we could do, and we didn't accomplish that. And I felt bad about that. That was one of the things that I said is going to be higher on my list, because I didn't accomplish it the first time I was here.
How do you plan to foster positive employee relations? Can you please provide a specific example?
Well, one, you have to make sure everyone is valued. And that begins with listening. My dad used to tell me, there's a reason why you have two ears and one mouth. You should be listening twice as much as you talk. And I think the leadership needs to embrace the employees from the standpoint of, we want to know what your ideas are to make things better. And you'd be surprised if you ask the people that are actually doing the job, how can we do it better? You get a wealth of information. If we sit from a board level and decide we know what's best for everyone, not taking in the proper input, it's very difficult to make good policy decisions. We need to hear from the people that are doing the job. We need to hear from the people that are receiving the services. It seems like members of the community are not reaching out to the board because they feel like the board is not listening. And that needs to be broken up and reconstituted. There needs to be a listening of the public, understanding of what the public needs are, and not just listening, putting what you hear in action. Not just listening during campaign season. We need to be listening throughout the year, each and every year, to what the public wants, needs, how they view the services that they're receiving. We need to be listening to the employees of how can we make their job easier? How can we help them enhance their careers? We need to do a lot of listening and then acting. Those two go hand in hand. We need to listen. We need to evaluate what we hear. We need to then take the proper action through policy and drive the changes that are necessary to move Meridian forward.
How will you utilize transparency to create an effective and trusting community for Meridian Township employees and the residents of the township?
That's very simple. Provide information and let people know what's going on in their town. One thing I would do is I would work to improve the website that we have. It's difficult to navigate. It's difficult to find the things that people want. I'm hearing that from people throughout this township. The one thing I constantly hear is, we don't know what's going on, and I point them to the website, and then I get a lot of pushback when I say that. So we need to look at different communication devices, different ways to communicate with the public. It's sharing and caring. We have to share more, and we have to care. We have to look at the public and listen, understand where are our shortfalls. The public will tell you where your shortfalls are. We cannot take it personal. We have to take that information, evaluate that information, and determine ways to make the corrections.
What do you consider to be the top 2 challenges facing Meridian Township?
Well, it was just reported today that Michigan is now selling more marijuana than California. Not monetarily wise, but product wise. We have to be able to regulate effectively the sale of marijuana. Our community has voted to utilize not just medical, but also recreational marijuana. We have to be able to provide their wishes, yet regulate it to a point where it's not interfering with others. And we can do that. That's not a hard thing. But the main problem that I see that needs to be addressed is downtown Lansing. And as I said, I'm sorry, downtown Okemos. And as I said, I am meeting with various groups of developers, attorneys, and I am trying to get right to the bottom of the problem of how can we address this situation amicably so that we can get this project done. I vow to the public, I will not serve 4 years on the township board and you still see downtown Okemos looking like it looks today.
What goals would you like to see the township accomplish in the next 5 years?
Well, number one is a beautiful downtown Okemos. That's where it begins. Another goal is a diverse workforce. And as a policymaker, I would ensure that that is in the minds of all in charge of hiring. I would like to see a diverse workforce. I want people to feel comfortable in this township, not just the majority, but the minority. And I'm talking about all minorities. We have a varied amount of residents in this community that I want to see them engaged. I want to see them involved in our community projects. I would like to see them involved in our boards and commissions. We need to engage more of our community and celebrate the fact that these are the things that we do. We are a very kind community. Meridian is a very warm and welcoming community, and from the governmental level, we have to reflect that.
Thank you. With the few minutes remaining, we would like you to provide a brief closing statement.
You want me to be brief? a brief closing statement. I thank you for indulging me. I appreciate having this opportunity to talk to the residents and give them my ideas of what I would like to see in Meridian. If you would like to share your ideas with me, you can reach out on my website at electmiltonscales.com and give me some feedback. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me in your neighborhood knocking on your door. I want to know exactly how do you feel about the services that we deliver, how can we improve those services, and what it is that you would like to see me do as your next township trustee.
Thank you so much for joining me, Milton.
Thank you for having me here. I enjoyed it.
Of course. And thank you for tuning in to this candidate interview with Milton Scales, Democratic candidate for Meridian Township Trustee. I'm your host, Anisha McDowell. Thank you for watching.